You want to learn how to live in the now? First of all, what does that even mean? Well, on this episode, we're going to dive in deep to that concept with The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So the reason why I picked up this book is because I really wanted to know what the concept of living in the now is. I understood it logically. I've heard Eckhart Tolle speak about it in several interviews, and the logic part of my brain understood it. But I knew there were so many more layers to it that I didn't dive in deep with. So this review is going to be the top 6 ideas, the best ones that I got out of this book. So the first best idea of the book, it's actually what is the now. And in the first couple of pages, he actually explains what the concept of the now is, which is essentially being in the present moment and nothing else. So logically, everybody would understand what that is. But he goes a step further, explaining that that's actually the way that you find your enlightenment, whatever your enlightenment is, whatever your center is. When you are in a state of being in a situation and you're only living that situation, that's a form of mindfulness. And just think about it. When's the last time you did something and you weren't thinking about 1,000 other things? You weren't thinking about what happened before, or what you need to do tomorrow, or whatever the case is. Once you're able to disassociate yourself from those thoughts and really be in that present moment, that's when you're actually at a high form of enlightenment for that specific moment in itself. The second best idea of the book is the mind is afraid of the now. Now this was a very interesting concept because the author explains here, when you're thinking about the past or about the future, your mind could control those two elements. Even if you're thinking about the past and it's something that's already happened, you might forget certain elements and you might switch it for something else. And if you're thinking about the future, that's 100% something that your mind could control because you haven't lived that. And usually when he controls it, most of the time the human mind is made to think about the worst case scenario instead of necessarily the best case scenario. Towards that, if you're living that present moment, there is no control for that mind because you're living that moment. And he also explains that a high level of stress comes from living too much in the now, thinking about that future too much, because you're thinking about where you are to where you want to go and that gap in between. Now, I'm not saying don't set goals because that is extremely important, but if you're just living into that future moment, then you're not living the present moment and it's not helping you to get there. You're actually standing in your own way of success. You're blocking yourself. And if you live in that present moment, then you leave your blockages and it flows so much better towards that eventual future that you want necessarily. So the best way to go about it, he explains over here, is really appreciate that present moment and not let your mind dictate that moment with other thoughts necessarily, or the most possible, obviously. The third best idea of the book is what versus how. Now this is interesting because he explains if you're doing an activity and you're not necessarily taking joy out of it, it might even be heavy, the what might not be the problem. How you're doing something might actually be that problem. And the how is actually equivalated to that present moment. So if you have this goal of this whatever you placed as a goal, and the how you're kind of doing it half-assed, let's say, and you're not putting all of your energy into that present moment, the what is always going to be less valuable than if you're actually putting that present moment extremely high in value. So you're all in for every single moment. And if you're all in for every single moment, the what is going to be so much better at the end. So let's take, for example, you are a salesman, you need to do sales. And you need to prospect clients. Now you love doing the sale, you love getting that commission at the end, but the calling the clients, speaking to them is not something necessarily you like. But if you switch it around and you say, how am I actually speaking to my clients? Am I speaking to them with joy? Am I in that present moment? And if you fix that, the what's going to be so much better. So the reason why I put this in the top 6 best ideas of this book is because it just resonated with me so much. Because I'm somebody that sets goals. I'm somebody that does have a vision of where I want to go. And sometimes it takes a lot more time than I previously expected to get there. But if I take a step back and really look at how am I doing what I'm doing to get to that what? And if I break it down to that macro level of the how, I could actually find the real success, which is living in that present moment and being in that exact present moment that I need to be, that's going to get me to my result of that why in the future. The fourth best idea of the book is live your life. Now this was my favorite one, bar none. And the reason why, I think the best way I could explain it is I'm just going to read one sentence from this part right here. It is not uncommon for people to spend their whole life waiting to start their life. And that's so interesting because it's such an easy trap to get caught in. You're waiting for the future. You're waiting for your significant other. You're waiting to have more time to have fun. And if you just keep on waiting, you're not living and you're resisting what life, the universe, is trying to give you for that present moment. Towards that, if you start living that present moment, you realize what kind of gifts are already around you. You realize how high your level of gratitude should be for everything that you have. Now, the reason why this resonated with me so much is because I was actually caught in this spider web of living in the future too much. I was waiting to start my life, to be quite honest, in certain aspects, to be quite frank. I knew that my future is so beautiful and I'm working towards something so big, but I wasn't appreciating what the universe was trying to give to me right there and now. And this is what everything kind of made sense for me, and I stopped resisting myself. And I hope you guys can understand this part and stop resisting yourself as well and live that present moment, because it's those present moments that are going to culminate and create that future that you are waiting for. But you can't sit down and wait, because you'll literally wait your whole life to start your life. The fifth best idea of the book is the benefits of mindfulness practices. Now, the whole aspect of this book is explaining how to live in the now. And the main way to really tap into that is through mindfulness practices. And he talks about over here the benefits that really having a meditative practice in your life really has. And science has really proven with so many research that there is so much benefits from it. And if you guys are not aware of those benefits, I'm just going to invite you to go on Google and type down what are the benefits, and you're going to see a list of them. Over here he explains some of them, like it actually stops your biological aging. Now you have to understand there's two types of aging. There's chronological and biological. Obviously your chronological age is always going to go forward. You're always going to get older in time. But your body doesn't necessarily need to follow that. And once you meditate, it actually diminishes that. Not only that, it helps up your immune system as well. So these are so many things that he talked about. And for me, this is where everything kind of made sense. I actually recently did a 10-day silent meditative retreat, a Vipassana retreat, and I did a video on it. I'll actually link it up right now. And during that time that I was really getting into high forms of meditation, I really realized what it is to live in the now. Because I was sitting down and meditating for hours and hours, and I was able to feel every single little biochemistry that was happening in my body. I was feeling my body aging. I was feeling every single part of my body. And that's when I really understood that's what it is to live in the now. Now, it's one thing to understand something logically and theoretically, but it's another thing to feel it. Once you really feel what it is to live in the now, that's when your life changes. And you realize that this beautiful life that we have been given to us, there's an actually time frame towards it. We're all going to die at some point. And if you realize that and really live every single moment to the gift that it is, you're going to go so much more further, faster, with more empathy, with more joy, and with more happiness. So I think this is the whole point of this book in itself. The sixth and final best idea of this book is negativity doesn't work. Now that kind of makes sense, right? Negativity doesn't work. But what he explains over here is that he says humans are the only living beings on this planet that knows negativity. Now when he said that, I kind of had a resistance being like, wait a minute, I know certain animals have negativity. But a bit further, he actually explained that the only animals or the only living beings that have negativity are the ones that are in contact with human beings. If you think about a flower doesn't know negativity. A flower grows to its maximum potential. A tree, the same thing. If you think about animals in the wildlife, they're doing their own thing. They don't necessarily negativity. They're just being in that present moment and living it. It's only other living beings that are close to humans that can live with negativity. And the only way you could really counteract that is by living in that present moment. And understand that if negativity comes in your life, don't look at it as something bad necessarily. Look at it as a warning sign. Look at it that you're not in that present moment. So take a step back and be in that present moment. You just have to have an equilibrium mindset and not be angry about that negativity. Take it for as it is and redirect your energy towards being in that present moment. I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and I hope you guys are intrigued enough to go pick it up and read it yourself. Because what I talked about the book over here is really just the surface. There's so many more ideas and concepts that Eckhart Tolle goes into, and it's really interesting to see how he explains it. Now, certain things are kind of a bit more out there. It does take maybe a couple of reads on certain elements to understand, but that's a part of this book as well. That's what I truly enjoyed. So if you guys want the book, the Amazon link will be in the description below. And I hope you guys saw some value in this video. And if you did, do not hesitate to like and subscribe. And I'm going to leave you out with this. Leaders are readers, and live your life on purpose and with purpose.